BMNR, and SBET, where they were regular companies, right? Just like any other company with earnings and sales and revenue and cash flow and all that stuff. Well, they got converted into treasury asset companies that stake or hold or buy or accumulate Ethereum. Well, just because Tom Lee is involved doesn't mean anything to me. Again, much respect to Tom Lee. He has a thesis. He's executing just like my 3Ps. He has a plan. He's executing the plan, and they're executing flawlessly. But one thing he cannot control is the price of the underlying. What is the price on the underlying? Ethereum. Well, he's trying to accumulate as much as he can, getting up to 5%. I've watched his videos, him talking about this being the 1971 moment when we went off the gold standard and created synthetic dollars. And that's what I think he figured out, because we create so many synthetic dollars that all asset classes are just going booming. Real estate, gold, right? Crypto and stock market. Look where things are. That's because we have so many dollars that we just create out of thin air, synthetic dollars, and push it into the marketplace. And but then if you look at around the globe, what is happening, right? What is happening to all the long end of the yield curve? UK, Germany, Japan, absolutely going through the roof. Interest rates are shooting up, right? Although last couple of days here, which I'll go look at again today. Today was another big day on TLT. TLT is a inverse indicator of the 20-year bond. Rates are going down on the long end, which is good. I hope they keep going down, because we need it to lower mortgages, lower car loans, and things like that. But so he's accumulating Ethereum. Ethereum is about 4,300. Okay. So and there was something called, most people who I watch or listen to on YouTube, they have this notion that Tom Lee said it should be okay. No. What is your thesis, right? Are you buying what he's selling? We're all entitled to be wrong, and we all have our own opinions. I'm just stating my own opinion. I'm putting the trade on because I structured my trades around the thesis that I created. Is it because I believe in Tom Lee that says it's the 1971 moment, tokenization of every asset? It's the, Wall Street benefited greatly when we went off the gold standard, created synthetic dollars. All these products got created. Possibly. Long term, maybe, potentially. But it's just talk at the moment. And what is happening? So one thing that I think a lot of people misjudge or misunderstand is something called MNAV. MNAV meaning multiple to net asset value. Okay, so it started with Michael Saylor a few years ago. He was the first one. He is the spokesperson for Bitcoin, I think, or Bitcoin Treasury asset company, through his company strategy. Although there is a company behind it that they create some enterprise software, which has no meaning really, because it's not a profitable company. So he started buying Bitcoin. And I think he's up to close to 700,000 Bitcoin. So the net assets of the company is the underlying crypto that they're holding. Okay. And Tom Lee, through BMNR, keeps issuing at the market stock and buying Bitcoin. That was all great. Fine, amazing, because the MNAV, multiple to net asset value, by the way, so the way people should figure out multiple net asset value is you have market capitalization of BMNR. Let's hypothetical, okay? Let's say market capitalization is 10 billion. If the Bitcoin holdings they have are 8 billion, not Bitcoin, Ethereum holdings they have is 8 billion, well, that's about 1.5 MNAV, let's say, for lack of, not being correct, but let's say 1.5. So that means there's a premium. That means the underlying equity, BMNR is selling at a premium to their Ethereum holdings. So MNAV is 1.5. So basically, they're selling shares at the current price and turning and buying an asset that's cheaper which is Ethereum. Great. As long as that premium is there, they're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep doing this to accumulate as many tokens as possible, as fast as possible. Well, something broke. Something went wrong. Same thing with SBET, by the way. Same thing with SBET. SBET was trading when it went to 160 something or whatever. And whoever shorted it, God bless him, my hat's off to you. And what did Wall Street do when they see 2 MNAV, 2.5 MNAV? Same thing with strategy. What do? They go buy Ethereum, physical Ethereum, and they short the equity. Great play. Jim Chanos did it with strategy. I think he made a ton of money because he shorted MSTR when it was 1.7 MNAV. And we know what's happening to MNAV on all of these companies now. Okay. So with my patients, what did I do? I waited because I personally don't think they should sell at a premium. Now, there are a lot of folks, in fact, some of you hopefully come on and explain it to me why BMNR should sell at 1.5 MNAV, meaning 50%. So market capitalization of BMNR should be 50% higher than their Ethereum holdings. I get it. I get the staking. I get all that stuff. But give me a reason why it should be 1.5 other than that. There isn't any, okay? But let's say there is. Okay, well, that game ended real fast, didn't it now? Why is that? Because MNAV got crushed, specifically in the case of SBET and also BMNR and MicroStrategy or Strategy. I believe Strategy is the only one selling at a premium at the moment, but albeit very small, somewhere around 1.3 range, maybe 1.2.5. And BMNR, as of last Friday and yesterday and today, is under MNAV, from what I can understand. Meaning, you take the outstanding shares, multiply by the stock price, you create market capitalization, you look at their Ethereum holdings, divide the two, you get MNAV. I believe MNAV on BMNR is under 1 now. So that's par. Let's call it par. 1 to 1 is less than 1. On SBET is literally, as of today, I think we're down to 0.82. On SBET, MNAV was 2.5 when the stock was where it was, right? Okay, so now we're at 0.82, I think, as of this second, from what I can gather. Again, the same calculations, right? Now, that creates some challenges for these treasury asset companies. Although, with my patients, I waited until they both went under par, and that's when I started putting the trades on, which I will discuss in a minute. What am I doing with it? A lot of people are buying the equity. I am not sure, because these are pure Ethereum proxies now. You just are completely dependent, nothing more, completely dependent on Ethereum going higher, especially when MNAV is under 1. Why is that? Before, when MNAV was above 1, they were all diluting like mad at the market sales, ATM sales, and buying Ethereum immediately. Well, why would anybody dilute and sell stock when MNAV is under 1? You're just eating your own flesh at that point. Actually, at that point, what you should do is you should go buybacks. And I think BMNR did say that they have $1 billion buyback in place. I don't think SBET has that kind of cash to do it. But I waited, and then I started putting the positions on when they went under 1 MNAV. I'm like, okay, so it's a double-edged sword, though. So under MNAV, why would anybody sell shares and dilute, right? And now you're playing the game the opposite direction, okay? And a lot of people have hopes that if now what will happen if Ethereum goes to 3,000? Could. Any guarantees that it's not going to go to 3,500, 3,000? It came from there real quickly with the buying of these treasury asset companies. And a lot of people call these things Ponzi schemes or not. And look, I have no opinion on that. I don't think they are. But now, the one thing that they have an advantage on is they are not levered, right? They're not doing it on leverage. So they're not going to be forced to liquidate the tokens that they have. That's one. Two, Ethereum is creating a yield of about 3.5% by them staking it. And so they can come back and buy shares with that if it's under MNAV. But there is something going on here that a lot of folks just became bag holders now because they have went and bought the equity, not thinking it will ever go below 1 MNAV. Well, market did it. It is below 1 MNAV safely, both BMNR and SBET. So now, if they go to ATMs under MNAV, now they're paying actually more. But the way I'm looking at this is that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the NASDAQ ruling or the SEC ruling yesterday shortly. The way I'm looking at it is that, okay, I rather buy SBET or BMNR than buy Ethereum now. Before, it was the other way around. I rather buy Ethereum itself if I think it's going higher than the equity. Because why pay for a premium, right? Why pay more? But now, since they're below 1 MNAV, maybe I'm thinking, okay, now it's at a discount. So if SBET MNAV is 0.8, that's 20%. That's almost me buying Ethereum at a 20% discount if I buy SBET shares. But then it all depends on the Ethereum price. What if Ethereum goes to 3,500? It could. Where's SBET going to be? It's going to be at 5. Where's BMNR going to be? It's probably going to be at 15, 20, right? A lot of people ask me like, well, what do I do? Then, well, don't get involved. Unless you're really bullish on Ethereum, you should, just because MNAV is under 1, you should not be involved, right? You have no business. Now, Tom Lee again says, Ethereum at the end of the year is going to be 8,000. Next year is going to be 20,000. Could be. I don't know, but we're not there today. But again, that's about trading versus investing. And so I highly recommend for people to understand what they're getting into, because when I do read these chat boards, a lot of complainers, oh, it's a trash company. Well, you should have known what you're getting into. You should have thought about MNAV going under 1. Could MNAV go to 0.5? Of course it could. Of course it could, right? So now you have the double-edged sword on the downside. What if Ethereum price goes down and MNAV keeps shrinking? Could happen. At some point, obviously, the Ethereum holdings of SBET and the market capitalization are going to equal themselves out at some point. That means MNAV going back to 1. But when is that going to happen? I don't know. Could it go from 0.8 to 1.6 again? Potentially, but I don't know. So there are a lot of unknowns, but what I know now, I'm putting my trades on because MNAV is under 1. Now, how am I doing it? I'm doing it with defined downside risk and as much upside as I can participate with. Okay. So I'll share, my positions in a minute,